Welcome to Tanked Up, the premium podcast about video games and craft beer. I'm Ben, and I'm here with Adil. Hey. We didn't have an episode last week.
What?
We had an interview, which you'd done at your time at EGX.
Oh, so we did have an episode last week.
So there was an episode as such, yes. That wasn't a recorded episode, I suppose.
It
Well,
was
that was
recorded.
recorded, yeah, alright, fine, whatever. We've got two beers for you. We're going to be talking about video games, yay! And we're going to be talking about Adil's time at EGX. The two beers we have are both from the same place. They're both from Moor Beer
Oh, they're going
Company.
to say the bottle shop.
They were purchased from the same place as well. These two more beers, I believe, even though Moor don't put any explanation or anything on their cans, I would guess from the fact that they're both 7%. One is called Guardian of Peace.
And it has a neon-ish
Green
text.
Text to it. And the other is called Agent of Evil, which has a red neon text to it. That these are Star Wars inspired beers.
And you were saying that they came out last?
See, I believe they came out around about, whether it's before or just after, around about episode 7, I think. And I'd seen them before, but I'd never seen them in any of the beer shops that I frequent. And as soon as I saw them, I thought, try them out. Guardian of Peace is an IPA, and the Agent of Evil is a black IPA. So we are going to kick into the Guardian of Peace first. Ooh. I expect a little bit more fizz, a little bit more carbonation from that.
Well, I mean, it's months old. Maybe it's gone flat.
No.
No, it still made the telltale sound, which isn't...
Is that Batman?
Yeah, I was like, wait, which is the latest Telltale game?
Yeah, Don Draper's Simulator.
Oh, right, because it's more, what's his name?
More Bruce.
Which is cool. I haven't
It's different,
touched it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm tired of Batman in a lot of ways.
That's fine. I don't disagree. The
You know,
Arkham games are awesome, but
Yeah, I'm
sort of, that's enough for me. Really.
Yeah, well, I haven't played Arkham Knight.
No, I haven't played that one either.
I've heard very good things, though.
To be fair, I didn't play the one before that was made by somebody else.
Was it made by Origins?
Yes.
Sorry. I was like, no, City was before that.
No, I played Asylum and City. Asylum's a fantastic game.
Yeah.
City was great. Built on it a little bit more, but I didn't think it was quite as good.
No, because it was open world, it lost. You actually want in that type of game the narrative and the flow to be similar.
Yeah.
And the gameplay flow was very do this now, side quest. And the
Very much,
the narrative was still very much sort of designed like Asylum, and so they just didn't quite work.
It doesn't quite flow as well as maybe it should.
And especially considering, like in Arkham Asylum, you could actually go after the Riddler riddles, the Riddler riddles, the riddles, reasonably easily by just following the game.
Yeah,
but they were just randomly spread throughout, so you just had to hope you bumped
You're
into
in an
them
area and you just you take a certain path through that area to get past people or take people down, and suddenly you bump into one of these things. Yeah, rather than having to search them out in a huge open world of city. Yeah, and I understand with Night that a lot of them were driving challenges and things like that, weren't they? Which was seen as one of the worst parts of the actual game itself, like the driving. So,
which makes sense when it's when you put all the effort into designing a kick-ass fighting game.
Completely.
Cloudy.
It is cloudy. It's cloudy.
No chance of meatballs.
This is the Guardian of Peace.
Yes,
it is cloudy. It's nice and light.
It's it actually looks kind of like a Hefeweizen. It's got that.
It does a little,
yellowy tinge, not just the standard sort of brute orange that we're used to.
No, and there's not a huge amount.
Speaking of orange, nice sweet orange nose, I think. That's actually, there's something else going on. I mean, there's a hop there. Just the one, though, I think.
Just the one hop. That was it. So it only been made one tiny little hop.
Not
even one type of hop.
Yeah.
Oh dear. It's a nice taste. It's not too bitter.
It has a certain citrus flavor.
It does. It's quite refreshing.
One might say
tropical.
Tropicality.
Have we spoken about this before? Possibly.
I want to say grapefruit, but it's not quite grapefruit. I think it's just that citrus that I got on the nose coupled with that hop.
It It could be.
Which actually, now that I think about it, explains why we see grapefruit everywhere in all our IPAs. Because if they have any citrus in them, and you have citrus and bitter,
Yeah, it's that combination that makes that flavour.
90 billion beers later, we finally figure out why we have grapefruit.
It's got a nice finish to it as well.
I really like it.
That tropical flavour sits very well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sort of sits on top of the bitterness, but actually now that it's been, a good 20-second ramble afterwards, the sort of bitter finish is faded, but there's still a tinge of sweetness. So I challenge you to not have a sip for 30 to 40 seconds and tell me if I'm on crack.
I think it's probably been about that, hasn't it? It's been about 30 or 40
you
seconds.
You just had a sip
I'll wait
10 seconds ago.
So, we're going to talk about EGX and talk about your experience at EGX, what you saw, the games you played. I suppose I'll kick off first. As we were talking about Batman, did you get to try the Batman VR?
I didn't. I did sign up for PSVR. It was not actually my first experience with the PSVR because the day before my scheduled appointment, I played Windlands.
Yes. Which was the interview last week.
Yeah, yep. Which was on the PSVR. And so that actually gave me all I wanted to know about sort of how it feels, because I have had the fortune of playing experience with the Vive and the Oculus DK2. I've actually not played with the Oculus Consumer.
Retail, yep.
But it gave me enough information that tracking actual blue lights is good enough.
Yeah.
Although now that I think about it, the only difference between the Oculus and the VR, well, not the only, on the face of it, the Oculus is also using infrared LEDs, basically, for tracking, and a single camera.
Right.
Well, if they were smart, which I'm assuming they were, the PlayStation camera has two cameras.
Yeah.
Which means you could actually do some 3D tracking, which would help some of the depth movements.
That's cool.
I know this because I actually looked into how well the Windows drivers were, because I had my tinkering came up with, because I had a PlayStation camera at home, that if I could get the drivers for, I found something that could basically take two signals and marry them together as a 3D source.
Yeah.
And the PlayStation camera is almost the right width, so you wouldn't have to do any tweaking.
That's cool. Yeah.
So I was thinking if you could do that, you could actually get it so that the PlayStation camera was a direct feed into a 3D headset, which would be super interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it just struck me that would actually help a lot with tracking as well, using both cameras and that fixed width between them.
Because isn't there a new model camera as well that I saw you posted?
I believe that it's the same distance of camera.
Okay.
I would assume it'd have to be, or otherwise they'd have to add a bunch of code to all of the things.
Either that, or they've altered it very, very slightly just to refine it maybe a little bit. To work better with the PSVR than sort of the existing.
And the new camera is nice. It's more tubular. Totally tubular, rather than the sort of awkward rectangular prism. I also got to see a PS Pro in person, and also on deck with the Horizon Zero Dawn. They had a sort of gameplay demo running the whole time. That was on a giant 60-inch. Pretty sure it's 4K HDR.
Yeah.
Although there was no sign saying this, but it was just insanely pretty. And like one of the things, hey Perry, one of the things that in that game, you sort of you do some weird thing with your staff and you smash it into the ground, and then basically a 3D map. Your map appears, and it's all topographical and stuff.
Okay.
And there was so much detail and just so much, like, it almost looked 3D on that flat screen just because it was just so well rendered. So I suspected it was showing off some of the things. And if not, then I don't think anyone needs to go further than that.
Yeah. I mean, I have seen lately that, we had a chat a couple of weeks ago about the Pro and all of this sort of stuff. I have seen Sony have released a few adverts on the telly for their 4K HDR TVs. So they're obviously, in the run-up to Pro coming out, they're obviously doing a big push for HDR and the 4K that goes along with that, I suppose, within their TVs to try and sell as much as possible. Try and combine all of their products into sort of one hit, really.
And I think that really makes sense given the giant this week. Sony basically told all the retailers to blow out their stock.
Yeah.
So the basically anywhere and everywhere, the PS4 500 gig is 150 pounds. Mm-hmm. And the 1 terabyte is 180 pounds, or 179.99 and 49.99. And then there were various bundles available. I think the best one was Argos had. So almost all of them came with FIFA 17.
Yep.
Unless you're at Sainsbury's. Long story there. But Argos had their base deal was FIFA, but then there was 2 or 3 sub deals that were limited offer. One of which was you add Ratchet and Clank for £0. And you can add a choice of one of 7 things, which was like, I think it was Uncharted 4, some other things, including a second DualShock controller for £0.
What?
Yeah.
How did I miss this one?
No one talked about it, but I think they all, like, the stock on those extra offers were just done.
Yeah, gone, yeah.
But, and so the maximum you could spend, I think, was $199.99, and that came with one of those fancy gaming chairs.
Wow.
Which was, like, it's a regular, like, £80, and it was, basically, you spent £20 on it, and it was like,
that's insane.
Fuck. And I knew those sales were coming, and apparently these were all, like, midnight things. And I was up at midnight. I just didn't even think about it until the next day.
No, man, I didn't see anything until the morning after, and jumping on to sort of Shop2 and Amazon and loads of other sort of online retailers. They just had nothing by the time I got there.
Although apparently, throughout the day, shops were getting more stock.
Oh, really?
And there's some bitter people out there who had their orders on, like, we don't know if there's stock coming, and they ordered at 12:01.
Yeah.
And then other people who ordered at 4 p.m. had the email saying it's on its way.
Oh, man.
Although, because of that, Shop2 kept getting stock throughout the day.
Yeah.
And so I caught one of those waves, and I am the proud owner of a PS4. Again, not that I was never one, but now I've got one in this country.
Yeah, man, I would have picked one up again, just to have not a second one here, but I'd have probably flogged it to my brother or something like that for the same price. But just because I know that the deal's on.
Yeah.
And rather than him having to then, someone who doesn't keep up as such with deals that come out with all of the games media and things like that, it would have just been like, mate, I picked you one of these up, chuck us the money and it's yours sort of thing, because it was mega cheap. And it is a hugely... The thing with that is, obviously they want to get rid of all of their stock, but does that then affect sales of the Slim?
So I think that's why they blew it out this much. So the Slim... The retail price at Sainsbury's, which is still weird that they have an electronics section, but
$250?
$239.99 for 500 gig Slim and FIFA 17.
Oh, with a game as well. Wow,
that's their and which is apparently £10 less than everywhere else. Everywhere else it's $259 for that bundle. So if you missed this wave / wanted a Slim, that's probably the best bet in the UK. So, I mean, you're talking about literally £100 difference.
Yeah. But I suppose,
But having said that, I have the feeling they pulled production a while ago and there wasn't actually a lot of stock. So this just generates hype. And then they're like, oh, but don't worry, that bundle's available here. But mostly make sure that you don't get to see a Slim and an old beside each other. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Because this is the new official price, but it's so cheap that no one has the thing. I think it's smart.
Yeah. It's
especially if they're in the middle of the two, like the blowing out of the regular PS4 and the release of the Slim. They're something blitzing the world with 4K HDR ads. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. And I suppose the Pro is still a few months away, isn't it? So there is that build up as well to that. There's a decent distance between the Slim, or the PS4 going forward, the new model.
Well, they call it Slim on like all the websites for the actual retailers are calling them Slim.
At some point, you're just not going to be able to buy a PS4.
Well, I believe that's basically
PS4
now
Slim.
Yeah.
But
I think what they're aiming for is like a sine wave hype cycle. Maybe less of the dips, but at least the hilliness.
Yeah.
And that seems like That could work.
Yeah, nice. We've oh, excuse me. We've digressed slightly.
Yeah, I was going to say one last thing, but I can't remember.
No, go for it.
I can't remember.
Fair enough.
Oh, I know. The one thing I found out belatedly yesterday when my flat is older building, big thick walls, bad RF, radio frequency for those of you who are slightly less nerdy. So that's everyone. And 2.4 gigahertz is a crowded band.
Yeah.
5 gigahertz has less width, but it's stronger where it has range. And that's when I found out that although the PlayStation 4, which we will call the PlayStation 4, the OG PlayStation 4, is
it's dual band, isn't it?
It is 802.11n. It is only 2.4 gigahertz. There's no 5 gigahertz in it at all, and that's been the case forever. I just never noticed.
So, I've never noticed because mine's hardwired in. So,
and mine I didn't even notice when I set it up because it wasn't hardwired in to begin with, and then when it was like literally 3.5 paces away from a very strong quality router, so it didn't matter. Because I found this out because I was having trouble downloading basic things on PSN, and I thought it was probably because, everyone had bought a PlayStation, and I think that's probably a lot of it because it got
the
better.
network was just killed.
Their network is also known to have speed.
Yes, limits. It is. Yeah.
You can't. You can't, it doesn't operate on the 5 gigahertz band. Oh, but you know what does? The PS Pro and the PS Slim.
Really? Well, yeah.
So, it didn't sway, it wouldn't have swayed me, but I wish that was a little more obvious.
Yeah, this is one of the additional upgrades that these new consoles bring.
Which, I still can't believe it didn't happen.
But I suppose, do you think a lot of people give a shit about that?
If they have problems.
Well,
but
yes.
No.
Yeah.
So, the base difference is 450 megabits versus per second versus 600, but of course that just means that you've got your actual throughput will vary. But because the PSN's so crappy, I don't think it would matter.
Yeah.
It really just depends on how the spatial relationship between your router and your PlayStation.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Nice. We will jump back then into EGX. So this was your first experience at a games conference?
It was, yes.
So in general, how did you find it?
Birmingham. I found it in Birmingham.
You found it on the internet?
Yeah. It was enjoyable. I went for all 4 days. There was no real reason to do that.
Yeah, it just not big enough?
Well, yeah, so one of the things about EGX this year is that both Nintendo and Microsoft weren't there.
Yeah, there was
very much a Sony show.
Yeah.
Having said that, Gears was there, and Titanfall was an Xbox. I think was on Xbox.
There was an Xbox area. Wasn't there? Games in.
There was a couple of Xbox games. They were all in the over 18 area. Also, the over 18 area had 4 games: Battlefield 1, Titanfall, Gears of War, and South Park.
The Fractured But Whole.
With the Nautilus Rift, which is basically fart capsules in a peripheral you strap to your face, such that when farts and shits come on that game, you smell them, and it sounded like the worst idea ever. But some guys on Out of Lives did it, and they claimed that it just remained afterwards.
Nasty.
And you actually were given a barf bag.
Really?
And just in case. They thought, well, yeah, this is just like, haha, but then they're like, no, I understand why they gave it to me. I was like, why would you do that? But anyway, so the over 18s area was this sort of 2 screens of South Park with this gimmick. And then 2 games which have recently had betas or weekends, and yet they always had queues.
Really?
Yeah. So really, in my eyes, Gears was the only reason to go into that area.
Yeah.
Also, the toilets never had a long queue in that area.
I know Ross ran over to Gears, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
As a big Gears guy.
Yeah, and he quite liked it.
Is Battlefield, are they 18 rated games?
Oh, yeah, I believe so, yeah.
I've never noticed that.
So what I found curious was Call of Duty is also is the same rating as them, and it was on the main floor.
Right.
And to be fair, it's the only, so people queued for hours for these things.
Yeah.
And I got confirmation secondhand, but the reliable person said they confirmed that the Titanfall build was the same one as the second week we played.
Yeah.
So any improvements since that week were not there.
We're not shown.
Battlefield was the same level as the 10-day
really?
open.
Oh,
like, why? It was literally the biggest beta ever. There was like 30 some odd million people, and they lined up for it. People queued for Overwatch. There was Rocket League. And I'm like, why? No, the majority of the games were out. There was very, very, very few of the big. There was no like big game that you would want to would, except for Call of Duty and Gears.
Yeah.
Mafia 3 was not playable.
Oh wow!
They made it like a little like old school cinema sort of area, and then I didn't want to wait in the queues, but it turns out it's also because when they said viewing, it meant you were watching something.
Viewing it. Yeah.
So that was that. I also rarely want to queue for things.
Yeah.
So
it's the British, mate. They fucking love queuing.
No, I think it's a con thing. But
it is a con, yes, you're right, Jess.
Well done. I didn't even notice. But all of the fun was to be had in the Resd zone, which is the indie games.
And it's strange that there is like a London-based EGX branded event called Resd, which is normally
a bigger version of that zone.
Yes. But to only have a few bigger games.
Well, so that's not true. A Tekken 7, I don't think was playable outside of that, and there was a huge Tekken 7 booth, and there was, and you could like compete to play on the giant screen. But like Street Fighter was there too, and I don't think it was any fancier version. A large chunk of one of the rooms was the retro area, which was at least not emulators, but it's playing old games on old systems. And hilariously, the only spots that I consistently saw people through, like never an empty spot, was original Counter-Strike on old PCs.
CRT monitors?
Just like, it was like not even Source, just like...
Nice.
Yeah, so...
oh man, the textures on that game cannot look good.
But, people who are good at that are just...
Well, yeah, it's a completely different league of gaming, isn't it?
Yeah, so I enjoyed it. Really, my highlight was meeting all of the Out of Livers and the Kind of Funny crew, which we have some ties through thanks to my Xbox and Me and MC Fixer.
Yeah.
And it was great to be there for the several days so we could hang out.
Yeah, nice. Much more about the socialising than actually trying to experience a few of the games that are there. I mean, it was nice to be able to try like Winlands and a few of the PSVR sort of things.
I love the fact that the Res Zone was there, and I tried a bunch of games and really enjoyed them.
Let's open this beer, and then I shall ask you about your favourite games. So, how did you feel about the Guardian of Peace?
I like it.
Nice.
It's that citrusness. I don't think it's Citra. The hop
no, I wouldn't have thought.
But it is really refreshing.
It is refreshing.
As an IPA, it's actually not that bitter. Like this is like a late summer, sort of on the patio. There's a little brisk introductory IPA. Like you could give it to someone who doesn't like or isn't into craft beer, and they'd be like, "Oh, this is really, really good."
It's kind of much more of the standard the Sierra Nevada IPA sort of ilk, isn't it? It's very much that sort of entry beer.
I think it's a little heavier.
It is slightly. I mean,
which is why I sort of don't like Sierra Nevada. You could have in the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
But I also think it's slightly less bitter in the finish than the Sierra Nevada.
The Sierra Nevada does linger quite a lot, doesn't it? That bitterness. Yeah, this was. You get that citrusy, tropically kind of...
Yeah, I was just saying, the citrus leaves really quickly, but that sort of sweet tropicalness that you pointed out stays for most of the finish. Actually, all of the finish, I think.
So this second one, the Agent of Evil, again, 7%. It is a black IPA. And on the front, it does say, celebrating the dark side of the Force.
Oh.
As the Guardian's piece says, an IPA celebrating the light side of the Force.
IPA celebrating the light side of the Force. If only we read the whole can before being like, I think it's blah 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 blah. Oh wait, was there text? No, that wasn't.
No, it's just ingredients and some
live yeast,
yeah. I mean, this black IPA smells good,
and it's completely
really
opaque.
Yeah, it is.
Oh wow, what is that? That's it's almost like toffee and anise. It's got that licorice.
It does have a little
like
bit
a sweetness and a licorice nose.
Maybe like a little caramelly sort of on the nose. On the taste, though,
I haven't gotten there.
You don't quite get that. It's we often sort of think of these black IPAs kind of border on the porter side of beers, but this hasn't got that sweetness that some of the black IPAs that we've had do.
But it does have that sort of...
It's that very roasted-y...
I was going to say, the roasted, the porter, stock porter taste on sort of the mid and the finish. The sweetness is there right in the beginning that you'd expect from a BIPA.
Yeah.
But it goes. And then you're left with this, like, roasted and toffee... Like a pure, hearty toffee, not a very sweet toffee.
But that I think that is that slight sweetness, isn't it? That sits there. I mean, that's very nice.
That's
very easy to drink as well.
Yeah.
Both of these really easy to drink.
I can see why this came out in the winter.
Yeah.
Yes. So we're gonna have an Out of Lives special on the main feed about EGX. But I will say that I think one of my favorite moments of playing games was actually playing WWE 2K17 with Ross Miller, which just had a blast. And like neither of us had really played any of them. Remember when we played 2K16 and were sort of disappointed?
Yep.
For some reason, like the controls just seemed more intuitive, and we had a really close, long match. And like he had his finisher, and I was beating his ass. Then he built up. He hit me just enough to build his finisher, and he used it on me, and I reversed him.
Ooh.
And then he proceeded to like. So it was a nice back and forth, and I barely beat him, but it was just super fun.
Nice, man. That's cool. That's cool. But again, a couch
co-op,
multiplayer sort of experience rather than
compare that to. So we also played. Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, whatever, the new Tomb Raider one. I think it's Rise of the Tomb Raider. I just said the series name and then the title, and it sounded stupid. And they were touting the, right now, PlayStation exclusive new mode, which is Survival. Mm-hmm. And that was super fun. And basically, the two of you together you've got a bow and arrow. And you each have two goals, and like my goals were eat 5 squirrels with my partner,
right?
And eat the meat from 3 bears with my partner, and his was rabbits and something else.
So you have to go on a hunt.
So you hunt things, but if I ate a squirrel when he wasn't around, I didn't get credit for it.
Okay,
because my goal happened to say with my partner.
You have to be within a radius of each other to achieve that.
You both couldn't eat from the same squirrel, but if I ate it near him, that counted. But you basically had 2 meters that mattered, which was hunger and warmth.
Right.
So as your hunger went down, you would I'd shoot a rabbit, eat it, I'm fine. Shoot a pigeon, eat it, I'm fine. That was fairly easy to regulate, but the heat was really tough.
Yeah. I assume you're in a mountainous.
Well, you're in a sort of a snowy forest more. Now we did find an old building with a fire pit in front.
Yeah.
And so once you lit the fire, you got all warmed up. And if you found lit oil lanterns, because there's some bad guys throughout, it didn't really lead us the narrative that was going on, because at some point there was a helicopter that I could hear that he couldn't hear.
Okay.
Like, so I could hear the pilot talking to me. No, but even when we were beside each other, I'm like, oh, we should really deal with this helicopter. He's like, what are you talking about? Which was super weird.
Okay.
The other stupid thing is there's 2 characters, but you both play as Lara, because on my screen, I'm Lara, and he's character 2, and on his screen, he's Lara. and I'm character 2.
Yeah.
So when it first started and did like the FMV sort of style,
Titular character.
yeah, but
Tomb Raider.
but like literally it was like on my screen, Laura's on the left, generic is on the right, and then I glanced over at Roz's screen. I'm like, well, that's weird because generic is on the right or left, and Laura's on the left. Like, I wonder why that happened. And then it only dawned on me later that he was Laura and I was Laura, but when I looked at him, I didn't see Laura. Like, it was such a weird idea. I mean, we've well past the needing this as a
and
thing.
especially you'd think that something like that helicopter experience, that if it's something in game, you'd both be experiencing it at the same time. That's very odd that only one of you heard that. Is it maybe to push a little bit more cooperation, so you actually talk to each other? So you go, I can hear the helicopter, we need to go across to it, follow me.
Yeah, so the other thing was, it was a fancy setup with a fancy gaming headset, but like, I played with one headphone jogged off my ear because then I could talk to Ross, say, "Oh, come here, I found a squirrel," because it didn't seem like it was. Yeah. Now I don't know if that's because all the stations were paired, so they turned off whatever miking, but it did hammer home that it's specifically designed to be an online multiplayer experience.
Yep.
Like, I wouldn't know that he was Laura too if I wasn't beside him. Also, you need, unless you're Adam Thomas out of the Crossfire, you don't have 2 PlayStations and 2 TVs beside each other.
So I would have done had I been able to actually buy one the other day when it was.
Oh, right. But yeah, so that was interesting, and I would play it. I would play it with a friend. I think it could be. It seems like it has legs, actually.
Nice.
It's not available on Xbox One, and so far the only people I know who have Rise of the Tomb Raider are Xbone users, so that sucks. But I don't know if that's just one of the standard, trickle down 2 months later.
Yeah, possibly that comes slightly later.
So, given that there's so many games at EGX that I either watched or played, I guess that's the other thing, is I was perfectly content to watch games being played rather than queuing.
It's something like Titanfall, which you've already experienced.
That still boggles my mind. But like, I think because of that, like, you could easily get away with a day or 2. I know Jamie, one of the Duck Hunters, he came for a day and spent the entire day just slowly cycling around the res zone, and that was his day.
Yeah, that's cool.
And he played a bunch of games, there's, except for Horizon Zero Dawn, which was always packed, like, so that you could either come in at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. depending on your ticket, and by 11 the entire day was booked.
Yeah.
So besides that, and maybe like the PSVR, which was already by appointment only, like, nothing really jumped out that you needed to do on the main floor, unless you like fighting games, I guess, like Street Fighter and Tekken. So like that made perfect sense to me. Wandering about was fun. Like, I think the one thing that being there for more than a day gets you is you see some things that you wouldn't normally. Like, Tekken 7 actually looked more fun than I've not really been ever a Tekken fan. I'm like, I would try that out if there were no queue.
Yeah.
But like, if a friend of mine had it, I would be like, let's try that out.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have bothered before. So we'll probably end up talking a little bit about the games over the coming weeks, but I guess the one game that one of the games that stood out and that I had a chance to talk to one of the devs was Aragami, which is a PC PS4 game, so no Xbone in sight, and it's a cel-shaded, very anime-inspired stealth game. But the premise is that this girl has summoned you. You are a spirit of revenge, an Aragami, and you exist in the shadows.
Oh, it's the shadow. Okay, cool. Yeah.
It feels like what Assassin's Creed could have been. In that, like, one of the things I really took out. So there were 2 chapters you could play.
Yep.
And tension was there the entire time, like stealth tension, which you just, except for maybe the first city in an Assassin's Creed game, you lose because you just become OP.
Yeah, completely.
And so one of the conceits is because you're the spirit of vengeance, you lose your. The more you're out of the shadows, you sort of fade.
Power that you lose,
and so all your abilities fade when you are like 4 seconds out of the shadows, kind of thing. your first basic ability is if you're in the shadows and you sort of, I played the PC slash mouse keyboard version. I was like the only person because they had a gamepad on so they had a couple stations in the PS4 corral.
Yeah.
And then the dev was in the res zone, and every station had like gamepads, and I'm like, ooh, it's available on a mouse and keyboard. So right click or probably B or whatever. If your reticule you aim your reticule at another shadow, and you'd instantly teleport.
Yeah.
So if you were detected, you could still sort of hop, skip, and jump.
Away. Yep.
To the fact that they know something's around, but
they come to investigate, and you're already gone. So.
Or like you jump there, you go 4 meters to the left, then west, then north and east, or something like that, and you've lost them, and you can like take a breath.
Yeah.
Also, it means planning on how to take out a very complex scene. It was very nice and strategic because they're roaming, but there's sort of fixed areas of shadows. And then one of the first abilities you unlock is you can spawn a temporary pool of shadow.
Oh, nice.
So like it shows you a wall that's fully lit up that you have to get over. And my biggest complaint was being able to tell it that I wanted to grow the shadow on the top of the wall rather than the side, so that I didn't just wall jump off.
Yeah,
was actually quite difficult. Not quite difficult, but it took 3 or 4 tries, and I feel like it should have been straightforward.
Yeah.
But that's
a little more intuitive.
But you can use that to get through basically any gate, right? So before you could there's like a gate. I'll just teleport because there's that shadow. Oh, there's no shadow. Build a shadow, hop the gate. It means that if you can see through a thing, basically you can get through it.
Nice, okay.
Which was a nice sort of change of pace halfway through.
Cool. So you had a chance to chat with the developer as well.
Yeah, and we talked sort of about some of the influences, why they focused on stealth as the core mechanic,
yeah.
And because that all the enemies have swords that emit light, so it's one-hit kill, which you'll hear on the interview in a few moments. But I think that sort of is what kept the tension up, even as I grew powers, is the fact that a small fuck up meant you're done.
Yeah,
because it's not like, oh, I got hit, I'll just wait 40 seconds until I resync or whatever Assassin's Creed's animus-y
just starts you again.
But yeah, so stay tuned for the interview after this beep.
Beep.
Hey guys, Aadil here with Tanked Up. I'm here with Edo from the Aragami team. So why don't we start with you telling us a little bit about what the game is?
Yeah, you play as an assassin, undead assassin, with the power to control the shadows. So you can create darker areas to be hidden or to teleport there. So you can evade your enemies or sneak behind them to kill them. That's an old school stealth video game. It's like a behind Tenchu and Dishonored. A stealth game with a modern approach, with a skill tree you can unlock to throw magical powers.
I didn't get that far in the game. So what kind of skills are added? So I played the first 2 chapters.
Yeah.
And you're a spirit of vengeance.
Yeah.
And you are powered by the shadows, but you can also create shadows. And so that was basically the limit of my powers was, the teleport and making a shadow so that I could teleport to there as it slowly shrunk. So what other kinds of abilities can people look for?
Yeah, later on you will find scrolls that are collectible objects that you can change to skill points that you can buy that skill tree.
Right.
Yeah. You have 6 type of powers, 3 more aggressive and 3 more evasive ones, like throwing kunais, throwing shadow sand to the enemy's eyes to blind him.
Right.
To blind them to either kill him or evade him.
Right.
Then maybe the evasive ones are like a radar, small radar. You can locate your enemy's positions.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Then small time invisible mode, like you can run between them without being spotted. We have a shadow decoy.
Yeah.
A bunch of powers.
Very cool. I actually got one of the scrolls, but I didn't.
You have to spend it.
Yeah. where did the inspiration for the sort of the backstory aesthetic come from?
The aesthetic. The aesthetic was we borrow things about Kami, then Felda, but finally we were like darker journey. The aesthetics is like Journey, but with a little bit darker, a little bit bluish.
Right.
Yeah, with a lot of contrast, the reds, blues, and the story background. Well, we like Naruto, and
I saw the Nine-Tails Fox.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I know what that is.
We borrow things from Naruto. I think and Avatar, the series.
The Last Airbender.
Yeah. That kind of thing.
Very cool. What's interesting is what I actually really like, because it's a stealth game, is that all your enemies they basically shoot rays of light.
Yeah.
So they can swipe their sword and send a ray of light careening off towards you. And if you get hit by it once, because you're a shadow base, that's it. You get sent back to the checkpoints. Did you always sort of have it as a one-hit kill system, or did you sort of decide to shift to that after playtesting?
No, we thought we can compete with Assassin's Creed style combat system, and then we realized that at the same time, when you play Assassin's Creed or the type of stealthy games that you can later combat, do combos and kill everybody,
or just hit block counter, and don't need to do anything else.
Yeah, and you don't feel the tension then.
Yeah,
it's a different tension. When you play Aragami, you have to be patient. You have to look for enemies' routes to evade them. It's a game style change, I think.
Yeah, and to be perfectly frank, I found it much more stealthy.
You feel more stealthy because it's a one-hit kill. You have to be, you have to think about your strategy before you made it.
Yeah, and also if you, I died a couple times at the same place, and I tried to rush back to that, and was like, oh, this is really, really sloppy because my timing was off because I was being methodical. Every time I didn't even know this guy patrolled, because by the time I caught up with him, he was at a pause point, and then when I rushed through, I was like, oh, he's facing me now.
Yeah.
It's not totally unforgiving though, because if you sneak up on someone and they turn around, you still have that half to 3/4 of a second where you can stab him while facing him, which I think is good, because otherwise it'd be a little
yeah. And then when you unlock the shadow powers, maybe you can use that little time to throw sand to his eyes, maybe, and kill him. You have that, or throwing a kunai to an archer who spot you.
Right.
You have that little time that, okay, I'm doing a little bit wrong, but I am skillful, so I can do it.
Right, yeah.
You feel better.
Yeah, I thought even the first kill, which is very straightforward, and then I found it really satisfying as far as a quick assassination kill. Given how stealth games have just blown up over the past few years, I think you guys obviously spent some time making sure it felt right.
Yeah.
And,
satisfying killing people.
And so, what platforms is it out for?
Yeah, you have that game in PC and PC Linux, and PS4 for the moment. You can get it on Steam. You can get it in Amazon and retail versions, and we have a signature edition also that you can pre-order with more stuff like OST, CD, art style book, art book. Sorry. Yeah.
And when's it out?
October 4th.
Oh, so
2 weeks.
Yeah, I was gonna say right around the corner.
Yeah.
Did you guys? I mean, what part of the team are you? You said you were a team of 12, right?
Yeah, I'm a co-founder, and in an industry like that, you play different roles because you have to do it. I write a little bit of story with my partner. Then I am basically a coder, so I program game-based mechanics. Doing the shadow leaps, killing the people, be aware of that. And then I am also a mocap actor,
Oh,
So
okay.
I do all the animations in
Oh, so
mocap.
you're literally the Aragami.
Yeah. I'm the Aragami and the warriors and the lady also. So.
Oh, you're all of them.
I have all the characters in the game.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you purposely stance differently when you're being the different
of
people?
course. Yeah.
That's super interesting. It just threw me off. It's just funny. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So, did you find it difficult? Is it so? Last generation, the PS3 was on the cell, and devs kept talking about how very foreign. It's harder to. You can't just sort of copy paste.
Yeah.
With the PS4 being much more basically like a PC, how? I mean, the platform's different, right? But the hardware is the same. Did you find it that difficult to code for the two platforms?
Well, we use an engine called Unity.
Oh, Unity. Okay.
So
A lot of
that engine has a compiler to export to PS4. But well, we always have trouble. Like, okay, that shader or that particle don't work in PS4, we have to change it. That kind of things. But okay, we have a boy working on that all day. So without him we are lost, man. And yeah, finally it works for PS4.
Excellent. And it's actually here on the PS4 as well, right? At EGS?
Yeah, we have it in the Plus 18 stand.
Yeah.
On the
Line.
PlayStation area.
Yeah. And it's got full controller support on Steam or on PC, which shouldn't be surprising, given that it's on PS4. And now the big question. Beer.
Oh, we have done with beers, I think. But yeah.
Can you tell us a beer we might not have heard of that you recommend?
A type of?
A beer that we may not have heard of that you would recommend to
Oh,
listeners?
well, I don't know. Well, I drink beer, but not that specific. No knowing beer. I like Guinness.
Oh, excellent.
Black Guinness.
Yeah. So, if you want to have a dangerous night, we went out on Wednesday, and on Broad Street, 3 or 4 of the places had £1.90 pints of Guinness.
Yeah.
£1.90. So it was
Hey,
messy.
that's
It
nice.
was a messy night. Because you just buy around.
Yeah.
Because it's the same price as, like, in Edinburgh, you get a Guinness for the same price as 3
Yeah,
here.
that's amazing.
Yeah, and then other beers were like £1.99 on the different places, and apparently that's their happy hour.
Good to know.
So yeah, and those in Birmingham, if you want, there is cheap beer on Broad Street. So yeah, perfect. Thanks for your time, and
Nice to meet you.
I'll send you a link when we've went.
Yeah, of course. Perfect.
And I think I'm going to pick it up. Day
Yeah.
one. Yeah. Just really enjoyed the game.
Thank you very much.
See you on October 4th.
October 4th.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah. We are little neighbors, you know.
So we're back. Good interview,
Thank you.
which I haven't heard yet. So we're going to talk about beers. We've had 2 more beer company beers. We started off with Guardian of Peace and finished on Agent of Evil, both 7%. The first, just an IPA. Nice, hoppy, a little bit of citrus, a little bit, and it's very refreshing.
Very.
The second, Agent of Evil, a black IPA. Nice, deep, roasted flavours. Again, with a porter, not a huge amount
I
of
was going to
bitterness.
say, it's not one of those sort of roasted-y, portery, stouty beers that you would want to, sort of winter, deep fall. It's not one of those where it just seems like it would be out of place earlier in the year. Like it's it's light enough, I think, that obviously height of summer, but like it's an IPA with the notes of these heavier beers. It's not actually heavy itself, is what I'm trying to say.
Completely.
Yeah.
I think out of the favourite of the two, words that don't make sense.
Well,
from the 2, I think my favourite was Guardian of Peace.
Oh.
Just because it was very refreshing. And it was a very easy drinking beer. You don't have that really bitter finish to it. It is quite light, even though it's nice and hoppy and you've got some good deep flavours in there. It's quite refreshing. It's a little light. It's very nice.
Yeah, I actually have a trouble sort of choosing between the two. I actually think that one of the real pluses of the Agent of Evil is that it's got this sort of hearty core, but it also has very non-bitter finish.
Yes, yeah.
And I think it's a weather-dependent choice for me.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
so. It's hard to say like ceteris paribus. What? Oh God, I didn't say that out loud.
You did.
It's all things being equal, I'm not sure which one I'd prefer. I think it's the Agent of Evil. I think there's just a little more depth to the flavor, but not by very much.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I mean, they've been sort of brewed, I would imagine, alongside each other as a pairing almost. And they do go very well. So to start on the Guardian of Peace and go into the Agent of Evil, that worked very well. You have that light, refreshing kind of flavour, and then you suddenly get a slightly deeper roasted finish. And if you were just going to have, as we have done now, just have these two beers, they work very, very well together. I think if we then thought, well, we'll have these to start and we'll go on and move on to another beer, that wouldn't have worked.
I will say this. If I wanted 3 beers, I would go Guardian Evil.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, definitely.
I wouldn't double down on the Evil just because of the richness.
Yeah, I mean, the Agent of Evil does definitely speak to me as an end of evening beer, doesn't it? It is the beer that you're going to finish on.
I guess that's why I think I sort of lean towards it, is because I can't think of... I wouldn't necessarily want a 6-pack of it, but like if we took Guardian of Peace out of the running, put other beers in sort of as the session, I would still want to end with the Agent of Evil.
Yeah, definitely.
While like if I tagged a different end beer... I wouldn't necessarily always want to go for the session of the Guardian of Peace, which is sort of unfair because obviously the session is going to be the longer. But yeah, I think I'm going to say it's a dead heat.
Nice,
much like the Force, it must stay in balance.
Ooh,
except
very
really,
good.
the Star Wars games. Fuck. The Star Wars universe is really about not a balance, because the whole point is that we want to defeat the dark side in the end. Or something.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's why the Resistance sucked so balls. Or the Rebellion sucked so much that they somehow didn't win after Death Star 2 blew up and became another Splinter Cell, because the universe made it happen. That's probably the best explanation for why somehow the Rebellion didn't lead to another Senate that was nice.
Possibly.
Death Star.
We're getting into the weeds of Star Wars lore.
We
shall finish.
Much like R2-D2 did that one time when he fell into the swamp.
Oh, definitely. Just living in the weeds at that point.
For you LEGO fans, there is a new Death Star, I found out.
Really?
yesterday.
One of the big Masterpiece edition?
It's not a Masterpiece. So they
1200
decommissioned...
piece.
Oh, yeah,
They
it's
are,
huge. But like last year, they finally decommissioned after like 10 years the Death Star, and they came out with a new version, which is different. I think it has more figures. It's really just updated figures. The one thing that intrigued me, because I never liked it, because it's like a skeleton of... It's basically a bunch of vignettes on the various Death Stars, sort of made into a Death Star shape.
Yeah,
so
the swinging scene by the bridge.
Yeah, but what they've added to the trash compactor scene is they actually built the entire trash compactor monster.
All right.
Which you've never seen his body.
Not just the
head or anything? Yeah.
Or the eye.
The eye, yeah.
And the tentacle.
Oh, what the hell is that thing called? Periscope neck thing? Yeah, no, it actually... I mean, it's pretty generic. It's got like 4 little fins. It's like a... But I thought that was a nice touch.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice. So, on that very Lego-y, but still Star Wars...
Lego Star Wars. Oh, also, you should look out for the Lego Star Wars bundle if you can find it, because it's also priced at $149.99.
Yeah, it was Lego Force Awakens and the Force Awakens on Blu-ray.
Yeah, so the Blu-ray and the PS4 game.
Nice, right, that is it. We are done for another week. We have been slightly tanked up. These are 7%. I'm starting to feel a little bit of a buzz.
Yeah, I didn't really have lunch, so that helps.
No, I had a very small lunch, so that does definitely help. You can get us on all the social medias. Just search for Tanked Up Cast on most of them: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube's. Is that all the social medias? Yeah,
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. We're not on LinkedIn.
Oh, yet.
That's true. How do people personally get you?
Personally?
On
My
the
address
Twitters.
is... on the Twitters. My username on PSN, which I now will be more frequented because I have a PS4. Xbox Live, Steam, and Twitter is the Omniarch. TheOmniA. RCH. Let's try that again. I thought I said A and I inverted, and then I realized that I didn't. Mid R.
Yeah.
It's THEOMNIARCH.
Yep,
You
there
interrupted
you
me
go.
with
Sorry.
the wrong thing.
I am at Nova47. Nova _ 47. For fuck's sake, we're done. We're done. That's it. We're finished. Goodbye.
Ciao. Sloppy as shit. I love it. I love it.
Right, interviews on. You're going to have a lot of editing to do with this episode.
Yeah,
right? Right, I can hear the water boiling. The interview is playing. We'll talk about...
Do.